Imagine living in a world where there's no hate, no discrimination against race, gender, sexual orientation, or religion. And that world is entirely possible. We just have to discover aliens and hate them instead. I know, you're probably thinking, wow, Mr. Pild is so profound. He's like Aristotle, but straight. And buddy, you'd be right. See, I came to this conclusion after the Bureau files radicalized me. Do not ask me to spell Bureau, I can't. But it was mainly the video on how he'd handle the situation on Pandora from the movie Avatar. I took to Twitter or X and was kind of shocked at some of the backlash. Most of what I saw is, genocide's bad, or if you side with the humans, you're definitely a Republican. That was the general sentiment. But I got news for you, buddy. I'm not a Republican, I'm autistic. And all of those accounts are ran by Israeli-funded AI bots. I know this because literally no one cares about alien rights. Pretty sure there's nothing in the Constitution about extraterrestrials. But I also know this because all of the coolest people in movies and video games hate aliens. People like General Quaritch, or Ellen Ripley, or Sergeant Johnson. And I don't see any reason to argue with someone who knows what the ladies like.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
Like, look at all the amazing things we have done as a species. Like, all the things we've accomplished. We've erected skyscrapers, mastered the 7 seas, we've mastered flight, we put a man on the moon. Look at AI, oil rigs, lithium mines, and Diet Coke. We've overcome impossible odds, and it's literally woven into our very existence. There's a whole paradox dedicated to how exceptionally rare we are in the universe. So if you can't tell, I love human glaze. And I really wanted to talk about it with you guys. And what better format than a tier list format? First, we're going to start with my personal favorite. The UNSC from the Halo series. Right, so a little background. The UNSC, or the United Nations Space Command, is the sword of the United Earth's government. They're a familiar-looking military organization with naval capabilities, armor, infantry, and they rock a mean green look to stay true to their homeland. With some of the best space military uniform, armor, and weapon designs in all of fiction. I always appreciated how gritty and grounded the look of the UNSC was, not looking at you, Halo 4 and 5. Everything resembles technology we have now, just like a little bit more futuristic, maintaining the immersion. But my personal favorite looks are the Halo 2 Anniversary and Halo Reach Marine designs. But you can't forget the ODST. From the MA-5B assault rifle and the BR-55 battle rifle to the M90A close assault weapon system. They're so grounded and feasible for real life that the latter two have real working equivalents. So the UNSC, for those you don't know, fights a religious coalition of several alien species known as the Covenant. The Covenant's made up of 8 core races, from the stubby and clumsy grunts to the graceful and dangerous elites. Others include the Mitch McConnell lookalikes, or the Prophets, the big monkeys, or the brutes, the jackals, drones, hunters, and engineers. Humanity and this Covenant busted out into all-out war in the year 2525, when the Covenant attempted to wipe humanity off the face of the universe. They did this for religious reasons. Understandable. Unfortunately for them, they tried to exterminate a superior species, and our cleverness, our tenacity, and our sheer will to survive plotted out the UNSC's victory in the long run. Obviously with the help of heavily augmented super soldiers, of course. The Covenant just didn't have what it took to come out on top.
Tartarus, the prophets have betrayed us.
They buckled on their own weight, and infighting destroyed them from the inside. But humanity, of course, fought tooth and nail, coming together as a species, like I said. They developed hit-and-run methods to combat the Covenant's superior naval tech and reverse engineered technology to develop Mjolnir armor that totally outclassed anything the Covenant used. But regardless of circumstances, time proved the dominance of humanity. And it should, because we are the best after all. However, as much as I love Halo, as much as I love the UNSC, after the Human Covenant War, they decided to be all buddy-buddy with the elites. So I gotta put the UNSC in B tier. Alright, next up is Super Earth and the Helldivers. Alright, so the Helldivers are masters of orbital-based combat, and they spread managed democracy across the galaxy. They use machine guns, cannons, energy weapons, rocket launchers, mechs, and an orgy of orbital weapon systems known as stratagems, or Pokeballs. The Helldivers fight for the Super Earth Federation, which is a unified Earth government that is all about freedom and democracy. All citizens of Super Earth live amazing lives. They're all happy and endlessly patriotic. There is nothing wrong with the system, and it is not an authoritarian regime, okay? But when the Helldivers aren't playing footsie with a 380mm explosive projectile, they wage a multifaceted war against 3 different inferior races in the galaxy: the Terminids, the Automatons, and the Illuminate. But although they're inferior, don't be mistaken, because these races are no joke. The Terminids, or bugs, as referred to by the Helldivers, this is probably a slur, by the way, are a species of insectoid creatures that are used by Super Earth for their ability to produce fossil fuels. They're vast in numbers, diversity, and they reproduce very quickly. There's quite a few known variants of the Terminids. I have to look it up, I don't know them by heart. Alright, get ready for this one. We got the Scavenger, we got the Pouncer, Warrior, Bile Spinner, Nursing Spewer, the Hunter, Hive Guard, Bile Warrior, Charger, Shrieker, Brood Commander, Bile Spewer, Behemoth, Stalker, Bile Titan, Impaler, the Spore Charger, the Alpha Commander, the Alpha Warrior, the Predator Hunter, the Predator Stalker, the Spore Burst Scavenger, the Spore Burst Hunter, the Spore Burst Warrior. The Terminids are brought to extinction all the time, but because they're slippery, disgusting insects, they manage to slip through the cracks and get their numbers up again. This could also be the fault of Super Earth because they breed them to use them for fossil fuels, and that's why they're constantly popping up out of nowhere. Hello? What's that? I need to see my democracy officer right now. Okay. The second enemy faction is the Automatons, or the Bots, as referred to by the Helldivers. This is a slur. They're a collective of militaristic cybernetic organisms who subscribe to a near-communist belief system. It's believed that they originated from the cyber people of Cyberstan, who are also communists and are the result of the kidnapping and augmentation of human colonists from annexed planets. They're capable of interstellar travel, operate a heavy force that includes heavy armor, artillery, anti-troop, troop transports, information denial, and numerous ground forces. I'm a damn proud veteran of the Creek, so I got a special hate for these guys. But last, there's the Illuminate. These are the War of the Worlds stand-ins for Super Earth. They're formerly a water-based alien species referred to as the Squids by the Helldivers. This is definitely a slur. They utilize superior tech like energy shielding, striders, blunt force trauma, and plasma-based weaponry to wage war against humanity and everything Super Earth has built. The Illuminate are also known to weaponize like psychic abilities and have the ability to turn citizens of Super Earth into zombie-like hordes known as the Voteless. Crazy name. But their psychological warfare doesn't stop there. These flying fucking assholes make me want to gouge out my eyeballs with a rusty spoon. What we've seen in Helldivers 2 is currently only the tip of the iceberg. So this isn't even their full invasion force, it's a scouting party. But like, the Helldivers are fighting a never-ending war on 3 different fronts, and they're winning. And if that doesn't scream supremacy, I do not know what does. So for this reason, I'm putting the Helldivers in S tier. Side note, Super Earth has to have a crazy birth rate because there's no way you can have access to such a disposable fighting force if you ain't laying down democratic pipe. You know what I'm saying? Hey, the Muff Divers for real. All right, now on to the RDA. Right, so these guys are essentially a massive mega corporation that outweighs even Earth's government in the Avatar universe. They have like a total monopoly on technology and resource collection / distribution. Hence why they found themselves on Pandora in the first place, and simply doing their jobs. But it was the selfish blue basketball players that hoarded their resources with no intention to even use them. That's not cool. We do not like wealth hoarders around here. This organization hires on security consisting of veterans and various mercenaries who are pretty well versed in the realm of violence. This paramilitary aspect of the RDA equips their personnel with exosuits, machine guns, and air superiority. But unfortunately, despite the technological advantage, they fumbled the bag hard. Mainly because they underestimated the Na'vi, but also because they're not an official military of Earth, so they're legally restricted from using WMDs or like orbital weaponry. But personally, I say whatever happens on Pandora stays on Pandora. But for that reason, and the massive bag fumble, I'm gonna have to put the RDA in C tier. Okay, so up next is the System Alliance from the Mass Effect series. I do not see this one getting talked about enough because unfortunately Mass Effect has kind of fallen onto the radar after Andromeda. Fuck you, Andromeda.
Sorry, my face is tired from dealing with everything.
But for those of you that need a reminder, the Systems Alliance is the human-based faction in Mass Effect, like the main one. They were established after Mars colonizers discovered ancient tech that allowed them to travel into the universe. So Earth formed this alliance to represent humanity and Earth's interest amongst the other intelligent life in the galaxy once they all came together and met. Humanity uses genetically modified Marines, and biotics, or people with telekinetic capabilities, and a heavily emphasized Navy to compose their fighting force. But they also have Commander Shepard and his renegade outbursts.
I've had enough of your disingenuous assertions.
Unfortunately, they're not really like human supremacists, which is gonna affect their ranking because that's mad lame, but they're still the largest and best equipped military force in the Mass Effect universe, which is pretty based. And it's not like they're alien sympathizers, like most of the races in Mass Effect don't really like one another, and the Alliance has historically fought a few of them, including the Turians and the Krogans. I just can't get over how willing they are to work with a bunch of xenotards though. Not you, Garrus. I'm not calling Garrus a xenotard. That's my boy. Because of their willingness to work with other aliens, I gotta put them in the C tier. Sorry, guys. Now on to the Starfleet Command from Star Trek. Look, they have aliens in their crew. And the show fucking sucks. They're not even a military force. They're just like explorers and scientists. I hate them. I hate Star Trek. The whole IP is shit from a butt. F tier. Okay, now to a much better faction. Let's do the Colonial Marines from the Alien series. Okay, so the Colonial Marines. They're the best part of Aliens, let's be honest. And they're the biggest fumble in video game and cinematic history. I cannot believe that no one has made a decent video game or movie fleshing out this badass faction. They literally inspired Bungie in their design of the UNSC, with Sergeant Capone being the inspiration for Major Johnson. So the Colonial Marines are a branch of the United States Armed Forces. God bless America. Specializing in small assault operations and rapid deployment to humanity's colonies. These guys love killing aliens, even though they were a little too cocky for their own good in the movie Aliens.
Game over, man. It's game over.
And kind of got chunked for a bit. They recuperated and pulled through with the help of Ripley, my queen. When it comes to placement though, oh man. So... Some of you guys are probably going to think I'm fucking crazy, but I'm going to say A tier. And the reason I'm putting them above the UNSC is only because they inspired the design for the UNSC. They're OGs. They're like the OG Space Marines. Speaking of which, the Imperium of Man and Space Marines. All right. For those of you that don't know, because I didn't know before I started making this video, Warhammer 40k is probably the most brutal and overpowered universe in all of fiction. It's kind of stupid. Everything is bigger, stronger, more violent, and that includes their space racism. Space Marines are Earth or Terra's premier warriors. They're heavily augmented, they're given multiple sets of new organs, can be mutated using gene seeds to the point where some have larger canines or can spit acid. They're typically around like 8 feet tall and given incredibly robust suits of armor to complement their physical prowess. They usually fight on behalf of the Emperor of Mankind and the Imperium of Man, where there are like a multitude of different chapters dedicated to specializing in different forms of warfare. Space Marines are usually equipped with ranged and melee weapons. The ranged variety typically being some kind of bolter, which is a 75 caliber rocket-propelled slug-firing rifle. 75 caliber being about as thick as a 12 gauge shotgun shell, and that is a scary fat hunk of shit to have lobbed at you at Mach fuck. Another favorite weapon of the Space Marines is the chainsaw sword. Yeah, not a regular sword. That was way too simple and effective, so they had to make it way worse but cooler. The Space Marines war with basically every other species in the universe. This could be the brutish but stupid orcs, the devastating hive mind of biomass junkies called the Tyranids, or a faction of undead robots otherwise known as the Necrons. There are around 20 to 30 different alien races in the 40k universe, so detailing them would require a video or two of its own. But there's one chapter of Space Marines dedicated to not caring who they have to fight. Those are the Black Templars. And their chapter pretty much says fuck you to their own rulebook just so they can be more efficiently xenophobic. They literally use loopholes, like legal loopholes, to wage a constant crusade against anything non-human. So I mean, out of everyone on this list, if there was a quintessential human supremacist faction, it would probably be the Space Marines and the Imperium of Mankind. I couldn't imagine the Space Marines being anywhere but S tier for Space Marines. They're basically fiction's best space racists, so I think that works. All right, let's move on to the Federation from Starship Troopers. So just like the Colonial Marines were the inspiration for the UNSC, these guys are the inspiration for Super Earth and the Helldivers. So the Federation is a quasi-authoritarian organization that emphasizes military service and pride in citizenry over everything else. You aren't fighting, you're not voting. They're masters at using propaganda to draw people into service.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
To fight for their interests, which is totally okay because the Federation's interests are right and just and always true. The propaganda also just goes hard, and it would totally work on me. I mean, propaganda already does work mad good on me. I saw a picture of John Cena and immediately enlisted in the Marine Corps, and that dude's not even a Marine. But the Federation wages war against a hive mind of interstellar bugs who shoot their offspring in orbit to colonize other planets. Same. They're super aggressive, they don't feel remorse, and they destroyed Buenos Aires. So I say, kill them all. Although I absolutely love this movie and there were no sequels and it went totally untainted, the Federation has a really bad habit of being strategically brain dead, like using wave tactics and having such poor intel that they didn't know the bugs had anti-orbital defensive capabilities, which resulted in tons of unnecessary human loss. So I probably gotta put the Federation in B tier. Okay, well, let's get it over with. The Rebel Alliance. If Starfleet Command was shit from a butt, then the Rebel Alliance is poop from an ass. The Rebel Alliance are a group of radical communists who hate living in a world with guaranteed galactic security. Again, they just love to team up with inferior life forms and can't just admit that humanity is made in God's image. Capitalize that G. I don't know how anybody can like these guys. Their drip, ass. Their fighting style, lame. Their ability to govern after winning a war, terrible. All around, these guys fucking suck. So I gotta put them in F tier. And that leaves us with the Galactic Empire. Now these guys are it. Their drip, immaculate. Their ability to maintain order in the galaxy, incredible. The Empire did nothing wrong. The Emperor might have been a weirdo, yeah, and might have been built like a ballsack, but like, he didn't even actually make any decisions. So like, yeah, you could say the Emperor was a bad guy. The guy was like the epitome of evil, but his administration was pretty good, I gotta say. Now granted, they did have some aliens in service, but it was very rare. And it was only when said alien was exceptionally good at their job, which I think is all right, you know, I think it's okay. You know, guys like Admiral Thrawn. But overall, the Galactic Empire believed humanity to be the most capable and trusted species. They're right. Hence why it was the most prevalent in the galaxy. The Galactic Empire spanned most of the known Star Wars galaxy, consisting of millions of star systems. And the lore is so in-depth that I would genuinely need like a 40-minute video to even scratch the surface, between all the books and the video games and legends, blah, 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 blah. But to say these guys aren't mad cool is just flat out a lie.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
Like, completely remove Darth Vader and the Emperor and any Inquisitors / Force users, and they're still like, they still have some of the craziest space navies in fiction. The numbers are insane, 25,000 Star Destroyers. The size is insane, like the Death Star or the Executor class ship. The power levels are insane. Like it said, one shot from a turbo laser is equivalent to a small nuclear weapon, and Star Destroyers are equipped with several of them. Granted, the power levels and numbers are like wildly inconsistent because Star Wars as a whole is like really inconsistent, and legends say one thing and then canon says otherwise, blah, 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 so who knows. But I gotta say, because of their total dominance over the galaxy and their humanity first attitude, I gotta put them. They gotta go S tier, man. They gotta go S tier. And I know what you're probably saying. Oh, Mr. Pilled, all of these factions that you're putting in S tier are supposed to be parodies or examples of evil fascistic societies and authoritarian regimes, blah, 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 blah. Hey, buddy, it's not my fault they make the bad guys the coolest, most badass looking motherfuckers ever in fiction. Every single time. It's always like that. The bad guys are always way cooler. But there you have it, guys. That's my tier list. Are we team space racism or space or space social justice? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for enduring this video with me. If you want to support my content and the channel, make sure to like, subscribe, and go to musclepill.com to pick up some sweet, sweet merch. Okay, bye-bye.